good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's Last Post ceremony. My name is Richard Cruz. We warmly welcome the family of Private George Adolphus Herbert Morton, who are in attendance, and other members of their family who are watching the live stream of this evening's ceremony from Adelaide. Private Morton's story will be read this evening shortly by Corporal Luke Abbey from the Australian Army, who is a member of Private Morton's family. As always, we welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that love and support them. We acknowledge the members of RSL and Services Clubs Association, RSL Victoria and RSL Queensland, who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. And during this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection by family and visitors to the memorial. If you're able, I invite you all to please stand and join in singing the national anthem. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn their loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight we'll read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 102,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and on operations for more than a century. But first we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths and floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection.
Today, we remember and pay tribute to Private George Adolphus Herbert Morton. George Morton was born in 1893, the son of George and Harriet Morton of London, England. He began his education at the Childerick Road School at New Cross and later attended the Netherwood Street School in Hampstead and the London County Council School in West Hampstead. At some point, George came to Australia and moved to Wallenbean in New South Wales, where his uncle, William Palmer, was prominent in the community. George's uncle owned Palmer's Central Stores, and George took work there as a grocer. He was described as urbane and courteous, one of nature's true gentlemen, and was very popular. George Morton enlisted in the Australian Imperial Force in May 1915. An urgent call for men in the wake of the landing on Gallipoli Peninsula 3 weeks earlier meant that his training was rushed, and he left Australia less than a month after enlisting. He completed his training in Egypt, leaving in August for Gallipoli. Private Morton served with the 18th Battalion, which landed on Gallipoli on the 22nd of August 1915 and was almost immediately committed to an attack to Turkish positions known as Hill 60, the last major Allied offensive operation on the peninsula. Hastily planned and poorly arranged, the operation led the 18th Battalion, suffering almost 50% casualties. Among those killed was Private George Morton. Originally posted as missing, it was soon determined that he had been killed in action, although no details of the manner of his death have been recorded. In November 1915, the seating accommodation of St. Clement's Church in Wallenbean was taxed to its utmost when a memorial service for George Morton was held. During the service, the Reverend R. Hamilton said, "Like many another fine Australian, Private Morton made the supreme sacrifice when he laid down his life not only for king and country, but for us as individuals." George's body was never recovered, and today he is commemorated on the memorial to the missing at Lone Pine. The young man who had been on the battlefield a single day died at the age of 23. His name is listed on the Roll of Honour on my right among almost 62,000 Australians who died while serving in the First World War. His photograph is displayed today beside the pool of reflection. This is but one of many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Private George Adolphus Herbert Morton, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them.
lest we forget.
lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozières or in the low scrub at Gallipoli with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes this evening's last post ceremony. We thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial and wish you all a very good evening. Thank you.